Hello everyone, welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday. First, I would like to mention that Memorial Day was this Monday, basically, this past Monday, and I'm recording this on Memorial Day so I can possibly get it out by Wednesday. And I'd like to say that I hope you had a good Memorial Day, whether it was mourning or just paying your respects to the fallen soldiers. It can be rough for some people. I'll say that my grandfather, we call him Pawpaw. He's a really awesome dude. He passed away when I was 15, and it gets a little rough. I mean, I'll be honest. Sometimes I think about him, and it hurts a bit. But I want to say that he was a good man, and yeah, he's a veteran. But I still think that since he was a veteran and he passed away, I feel like it'd be good to be remembering of him. And I also lost my uncle when I was a year old, and it was due to an accident with the weaponry, and he was Coast Guard. So I do have some family members in the military and stuff, and my dad, he's a veteran as well, so that's really cool. But I'd like to say my heart goes out to anybody who maybe struggled during any time of this. It's sometimes rough for people. I'd like to say I'm gracious for this country. I really am. It's a blessing we get to basically be free and do what we want. And I have high respects for any soldiers who went out there to basically give up their life so we could have great lives ourselves. And it's a big cost. It's a big sacrifice, especially when you have to give up your own life to help this country be free and not have a care in the world. Basically, I mean, we're a lot of people take it for granted, but I'm going to be honest with you, we wouldn't be where we are today without these soldiers, so I'm very, very gracious to them. I'd also like to give a little bit of a recap from Werth. Thank you. Seriously, I mean it, thank you. And I apologize for the ums, but thank you so much. I got a lot of good responses out of it, and that honestly made me feel so much better. I was super nervous. Making the last one, I was very nervous. I was overwhelmingly nervous, guys. Like, I literally gave myself so much trouble, literally the day of recording it, and I was stressing out. It was something, it was hard on me. And to see that people needed it. I mean, 2 people messaged me. I'm not going to drop your names out, but y'all know who you are. They messaged me, and they just told me it meant something to them. And it pulled on their heartstrings and stuff, and that means the world to me. I mean, I didn't think a lot of people were gonna need it. I didn't know how this was gonna go, but thank you so much for the feedback. It meant a lot to me. Honestly, reading those responses that I got, it really pulled on my heart as well. It's like, man, it really does, show something, just to be honest and just be real. I mean, and I'm gonna be real with you guys. Some of this is just how I feel, it's just how I feel with some of these that I'm gonna be making in the future. I mean, I've only got the first one. You guys are already making me want to cry, guys. I mean, come on. No, you're good, dude. Listen, honestly, I did tear up a bit. It made me happy that, people really messaged me and talked to me about this. So I want to say a recap from last week. If you haven't seen Werth, please go check it out. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put an annotation thing or a card at the top that says, "Hey, this is the Werth video." But please go check Werth out if you haven't checked it out. If you're listening on other platforms, check it out. It's a pretty good one. And it actually kind of plays into this new one, which is called Window, which we'll get into it a bit. But just in case any of you forgot, I'm going to go over a little bit of what Werth had in it, but I'm not going to spoil Werth for you. So any of you homies out there who are listening and not listening to Werth, please go listen to Werth if you can. If not, that's all right. That's your decision. You do what you want. So basically, a good little summary of Werth from what it was is that if you feel like you aren't worthy, know that there are like millions of cells inside of you. And even if you're a Christian struggling with being worth, God took one look at you and thought, man, I need one of you on my planet. And that's a freaking amazing thing. That's all I'm sharing from it. So if you want any more of that, please go check out for Werth. Werth is a very heartfelt thing that I made, and it's something I feel like a lot of people need to know, especially if you're having worth problems. If you feel like you aren't worth something, please go check it out. I feel like that can help you in a way. And if by any chance this doesn't help you out, that's fine. Listen, not everybody's got the same cup of tea or anything, so that's A-okay. And if you want some resources, though, I'll gladly, assist you guys with some resources if you'd like. I listen to some podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. It's really cool. So hopefully I can find some for you. Do you ever just feel like you're in this dark room? Like, I mean, just a dark room. There's nothing there but a window. And you're like, well, there's nothing to do but look through this window. And then outside this window, you see all these people having great fun times, loving on each other, just dancing around, having great times. They're super happy, super pumped. Everything's all colorful. Yet you're in this room, and it's all just dark, except for that one little window. And you're sitting there like, man, I wish I could be like these people. I wish I could be happy and as happy as these people are. Or I wish that I could be as well managed as other people. Or I wish I could be, in a better position than I am now. Or maybe some of you are sitting there probably thinking, I don't want to be like that. I'm too scared of what's going to happen to me if I do. And honestly, a lot of people think like this. There's a lot of people out here there who are scared to change. I know it sounds kind of weird, but hear me out, all right? Later on, you'll understand what I mean. Let's take through the aspect of, imagine windows are like change. Somebody's really wanting to be like these people out here who are happy, who are just living great lives, and saying, I want to be like that, but I can't because it's just a window. And there's no way out of this box I'm in. Or some people refuse to maybe even look out the window. Maybe they're too scared of what's going to happen to them. Some people will just be like, I don't want to be like that because I'll be vulnerable. A lot of people have these feelings, and a lot of people stay this closed-minded way and limit themselves to a point to where they feel like they can't change. And I'm going to be honest with you, you can change. Anybody can change. But I want to explain how change can work, and I'm going to tell you it's not easy. It's never easy. You're basically wanting to change how you are and who you are in order to become a better person or to become happier. Either way, it can be scary to some people, or it's a wanting and need but not knowing how to do it. Having to overcome who you are, especially since you're so used to acting the way you've been, because your brain, for example, is so used to acting a certain way. So what's going to happen is, if you're constantly acting a certain way that you are, even if you know it's bad or good, your brain is so used to it, you're going to be used to it as well. And when you try to break that pattern off in your brain, it's hard because your brain's so used to doing the same thing over and over again. And it's never easy to get off of that. It's almost like, I'll take this from a sermon, let's just say. I listen to some sermons as well, just as much as I listen to podcasts. And it's called MasterMind by Groeschel. And he mentions how, your brain has this neural network, basically, all right? And when you keep doing something all the time, your brain has this network to where it's constantly all right, it's wired to act this certain way because you're so used to doing it. And when you're trying to change it, yeah, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. When you're trying to change it, it's hard. And he was talking about you have to rearrange your wiring in your brains, for example. I mean, and not everybody's a robot, just to clarify, but just in case any of you were thinking you're a robot, I hope you're not a robot. If you're a cyborg listening to this, I hope you're having some fun. All right, but rewiring your brain to basically create a new norm is hard. It's almost like on addiction, but we're not going to talk about addiction. If you really want me to, we'll have to talk about it on a later time because we're talking about change. And it's not easy to break up that pattern. And just so you know, change does not happen overnight. All right? Change will not happen as fast as you think it does. A lot of people try to change and then they give up after a couple of days or so. That's not the way to do it, because change isn't going to happen overnight. Everybody thinks that, if I act a certain way for a couple of days, I'll be good and I'll be a new person. That's not the case all the time. If you don't mind, I'd like to share kind of how my passive change happens, because whether you like it or not, you've gone through some kind of change in your life where you've altered the way you've been. Maybe you were a kid and you were so bright, happy, and awesome. You had such a fun happiness, and then you moved on towards your teens, and you were still happy, but more people started to put you down, and you started locking yourself up. Maybe you became an adult and something bad happened to you, causing you to fall into a pit that you don't want to get out of. And I would like to say that, yes, all those things happened to you, and I'm sorry that those things happened to you, but those are things that are going to prevent you from changing if you keep letting them affect you and not letting you change. A lot of people like to think that, well, I don't think they like to think this, but a lot of people do think this, and they think that, well, I've had a bad experience with trying to change. People did me wrong. People just basically just didn't meet up my expectations, or things just got worse for me as soon as I tried changing that. And I'm going to be honest with you as this, and I know I'm saying I'm going to be honest with you, but I'm being honest with you. Things are going to keep coming after you when you try to change for the better. When you try to change for the better, there's always going to be something trying to knock at you and trying to stop you where you're at. And that's just how it is. Until you can overcome that, they're going to keep trying to knock on you. And you may even be struggling with it from years from now. You know, I'm still changing. And I'm only 21 years old, yeah. But even back when I was 15 to 14, that's only when I really, truly tried to start changing. And, you know, if you don't mind, I'd like to share why, or at least my semi-trials of changing. Please don't think I'm going to be trying to preach fire and brimstone, or I'm trying to convert you to a Christian or anything like that. I just want to tell you my story because of the fact that, my story of change, because of the fact that I just want to be honest with you. Like, I have to be fully honest with you, and that's where I got changed was a church. I would always go to my church with my dad, and, you know, I really wouldn't care. I'd always sit there and doodle on the tithe envelope, stuff like that, you know. I wouldn't really care. And this one thing happened to me where I just heard the preacher just say something like, if you want a better life, you need to act like this. And it broke open my mind. I have no clue what happened. It's just like, it's an aha moment. I don't know if you've heard of the aha moment, but there's a sermon series I listened to as well. Another one, I apologize, but I do like listening to sermons, like I said, just as much as podcasts. But he mentions the aha moment, and it's called the aha moment. I highly recommend it. I'll even put a link in the description below if you'd like to see. You know, I just felt like my brain cracked open, and like I wanted to do new things. And so I fall under a different kind of change, by the way, because like I mentioned before, there's people who really want to change, but they feel like they're blocked, and then there's people who are too scared to change because they're going to become vulnerable. Well, there's also another kind of in between that they didn't know that they needed to change, but found out they want to change. And it's a freaking obstacle course, by the way. As I said before, change doesn't happen overnight. Now, I don't remember the rest of the sermon. He's probably like, what the crud, man? Why don't you remember the rest of the sermon? But that is what I remember back when I was 14 years old, was that I needed to do that. And ever since then, I'm like, man, I need to alter who I am and change who I am for the better. So around high school, middle school, I kind of had this like, this mentality of, everything is dark. I don't like it. I don't like girls. That was how I was in middle school. I didn't like girls. For some reason, I thought they were mean and bullies. And not that I didn't like them as in like, I'm attracted to girls, but as in like, I didn't like them because I thought they were mean or something. I guess they're just the girls at my school. It's a perspective thing. I won't talk about perspective as much as I would love to go on a tangent about perspective. That's a different column we have to climb. But perspective I will say can affect on how you change. How you view things shows how you can change things. If you're looking at all the bad, you're going to see only the bad, and it's going to make it harder for you to change. If you look at all the good, I'm not saying you have to be a straight-up optimist, but if you're looking at better situations and the better of things, then you'll look at the better and the bright side of things. And so around middle school, I was pretty dark with people. I didn't like them. I didn't say sorry for things I did. I was just kind of like a brat, basically. And I was upset, and you know, a lot of people didn't give me like time and attention that I needed. Well, at least teachers wise, I will say. There are some great teachers out there. So shout out to you, homies. There's a lot of you. Don't hurt me. I don't remember your name, some of them. All right. And it carried on over for the first half of high school. Like, I just didn't know. Like, I just had this negative feel. Around freshman year, I took a speech class, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, all right? Believe it or not, I used to be super omega introverted, like super introverted. Now I'm kind of ambiverted. Ambivert is when you're extrovert and introvert at the same time, kind of the thing you like interchange between them. That's how I am a lot. I do like the extrovert side a lot more now. That's just how I am. One of the best things you can do as an introvert, if you're wanting to be an extrovert, is to take a speech class. Yes, I know it sounds like torture. Listen, it is torture. It's hard. It's hard to do something like that. But let me tell you, you can do it. I did it, and I believe that you can as well. A harder thing to do is take a speech class when you're scared of people, kind of the way, because you're pushed in, and you know it drags you out of being you. Once you push your comfort zone, it helps you change. I still have trouble pushing my comfort zone. I don't like pushing my comfort zone still, but usually when the time comes, I have to push out of it, and it's a good thing to help. In speech class, I always said basically every 5 seconds, so everyone was like, "Yo, you dude, you're saying basically too much." I'm like, "All right, sorry." I learned, I got better at speaking and more confident with speaking with people, which was good. That always take a speech class. I only took one speech class, and it's changed my life for pretty much like a long time. It was called e-business communication. It was really cool. And so around 15, sophomore year, as I said earlier, my grandfather had died when I was 15. And, you know, that was one of those big hits that happened in my life. It's like, man, I just now started trying to change, and then now, you know, my pawpaw's gone, you know, and that's hard. Like, I'm thinking, what the heck's going on? Like, as soon as I start trying to change, something very bad and terrible happens to me, and you can't let that stop you. Something bad like that is trying to prevent you from changing. And I know in my aspect, it was a big thing that tried to keep me from changing, but at that point, you have to push forward and keep going forward, because you know it's a lot better on that other side right there. And so after that big change that happened, and it shook the whole family. Like, it's a big thing. Like, it was one of those monumental shakes when you lose a very good family member. It's like it's an earthquake in your family. And so after that, I made this vow of, I need to start treating people better. The way he treated me, I want to treat other people, because he was a very nice man, very nice. And, you know, I got some aspects from him, I'll say, but some of these things you also learn on your own, these traits you get. And so I started to improve who I was and do better. And around the end of sophomore year and going up into junior year, a lot of people started noticing these changes. I started to apologize if anyone bumped into me. I started being a lot nicer and a little bit more communicative. I was still like weird, you know, and I'm still weird to this day when I can't make eye contact with people. You know, it's a hard fight. It's a hard fight, not fought. It's a hard fight. You have to constantly work yourself up and change. And a lot of times you can get discouraged from it too. Like, you know, there could be always someone who talks bad to you. Your day gets ruined, and you want to you kind of want to go back to where you were. But here's the thing: once you get so far into changing, you don't want to go back to who you were, because you realize how much better you feel, and your heart is in a better place. You know, the one thing that I found out when I was younger, when I had basically started acting better, was that I did not know my heart was empty until it got filled. And that's how I think a lot of people are, especially when they're looking out this window. They don't know their hearts are empty. You don't know your heart is empty, especially if you don't have friends or family or maybe even God to fill it, you know. It's an amazing feeling that once you do this, once you go through this kind of monumental change in your life, that your heart wasn't filled for so long, and then you get this feeling, and it's overwhelming. And then now when you look back, and you're looking back, and you're like, this is amazing. Now, I mean, you don't know this yet, especially if you're looking into change. And over these next few weeks, hopefully these things will help you maybe even change. But the feeling's amazing when you start changing. Like, your heart becomes better. It beats for the right reasons. Now, don't get me wrong, you still have to learn a lot. And it's good to have a learning mentality because you want to actively learn what you want to do. A thing about changing, too, is that you're going to make a lot of mistakes, all right? It's just how it happens. And here's the thing, too, is that one thing I've learned from making mistakes is that just because you make a lot of mistakes doesn't mean you should keep making them. And you need to learn from them. As I learned from a song from NF. I don't remember the song, but he said mistakes can make you grow, but that doesn't mean you're friends. That means mistakes can make you grow, but you need to get to a point to where you need to stop making these mistakes. And that's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard not to make mistakes, but you need to actively learn and find counter options to that change. Because then when you find that counter to the mistake you keep making, it makes it a lot easier on you. To continue my story on how things have changed for me, around junior year, I started booming. Like, my heart just started flowing, and it was going crazy. I had my YouTube channel. A lot of people knew me from my YouTube channel at that point. I had a coach, actually. See, here's the thing, and I know there's a lot of here's the things. Once you start changing, there's going to be other people in your life that are just going to help propel you right forward. It's crazy, right? And I know this is going to be weird because I'm like basically talking my entire school life here. And I might even talk about it and bring it up again. But, I mean, at this point, people knew about my YouTube channel. I was the guy, people knew me as the guy with the YouTube channel. So I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, yo, I kind of have a little bit of a name for myself, though. And I was Sir Derpy Creeper. Luckily, I wasn't the pinnacle dude at the time. Around junior year, math class, we all went to play dodgeball, and I was very introverted still, kind of. I was jumping a little. I was increasing my extrovertedness a bit. I wanted to stay out of kickball. For some reason, we had a kickball thing. I think it was more towards the end of the year. But I was sitting there, and I was just like, man, I don't really want to play kickball. And the math teacher, who's also a coach, he looks over to me and says, you're not going to play any kickball? I think it's kickball, dodgeball, something like that. It's like baseball version of kickball. It was really weird. I've never played it before. It was a new thing for me. So he looked at me and says, you're not going to play it? And I said, nah, not really. He says, oh, no, you're going to play it. You got a YouTube channel. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll try it. It pushed my barrier a bit. And it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I was pretty terrible at it. I'm not going to lie. I was like, when you're the wimpy kind of nerdy kid that does a sport for like the first time, you're not gonna joke jack crud about it, which I don't know. I'm hoping people saw that improvement right there, but to me that broke a barrier down. That was like, man, I need to be more out there and open, and it did. It broke a barrier. It let me like reach out more. Like, it felt like my heart got bigger. It felt like it opened up more. And when you start changing, there's going to be people that come into your life that really that see that change and they want to bring it out of you even more. That is awesome. All right, you need to surround yourself with these kinds of people, because when they see that you're changing in a good way, you need to let them bring it out of you more, because it ultimately changes how you are and a great perspective on life and to be better. And after that, I'll tell you, senior year, best year of my life in high school. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I came in there. Man, I don't like school. That's how I was. I left literally almost crying my eyes out, saying, I don't want to leave. And that's how powerful change is, by the way. Once you decide to change who you are, it ultimately changes your perspective and view. So throughout senior year, I was super happy. I had an extra class. Would you believe this? I went to Washington, D.C. because I was energetic. I was outspoken kind of the person. And I went to a class called JTG, which is Jobs for Tennessee Graduates. I went to that class. I went over there and I asked the teacher, I said, can I go on this trip with Washington, D.C.? And the crazy thing is, she allowed it. I was like, that is amazing. By the way, if you're listening to this, all right, I know who you are. I don't want to drop your name or anything, but you know who you are. You literally gave me a great experience, and I'm honestly 1,000% thankful you let me go on that Washington, D.C. trip. And if anyone who knows her or anything like that, please tell her, please. She needs to know this, all right? But I went to Washington, D.C. for an entire week. Like, I mean, like, this was crazy to me. This was so crazy to me. I was like, yo, dude, this is a big jump. I had to go to Washington, D.C. with people I kind of knew. I had a good friend. He's pretty rad. We went to the GameStop. The GameStop story. If any of you heard the GameStop story, I'll tell it in the future. I won't tell it here. But the GameStop story was literally the best story I've ever told in my life. And a lot of people love laughing at it. It's great. It came from that. But, I mean, I went to that extent. And then I started getting more accumulated subscribers on my YouTube channel. To me, it was a super cool thing. Now, it kind of died out, the YouTube channel did a little bit, but it's getting up there again. It's crazy. At the end of the year, people wrote down names for superlatives. Now, if you don't know what a superlative is kind of like, you're this kind of person of the year. You know what I mean? Like, it's usually typically a boy and a girl. Best eyes, stuff like that. Best eyes, maybe best haircut, best look, something like that, all right? And, and the funniest thing to me, all right, I walk up to the superlative thing, and my friends are writing my names down. And, the thing I wanted to do was, there was one called Most Changed Since Freshman Year. That's the one I wrote down, because I felt like I had mostly changed since freshman year. I went from this quiet, pushed-in kid to, like, an outgoing, well, I was still a little iffy, but I was a quirky, outgoing, like, YouTube man. I was crazy. I was living life. And so I wrote my name down. Then my friends were like, hurdy-gurdy, let's write your name on everything else. I was like, great. And so believe it or not, I did not get the most change since freshman year. That was like, man, that would have been so cool for me. But you know what I got? I got most likely to take over the world, which I was like, that's fine, I guess. So I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, knowing myself, I'm not a mean person, so I don't know. I guess I take over the world with my majestic content or something. It was crazy, the power of change is something so crazy. And I'm going to stop talking about myself after this, because that was it. Imagine this. A kid, who comes in high school hating it, just hating it. I hate life. I don't like any of this stuff, pretty much. All right. And then ultimately, within the year or two, I made the decision to change. And it took a few years just to build myself up to this new person that I wanted to be. And it's a way better person that I had inside myself, that I was doing myself this injustice of not letting it out. And now I'm living such a happier and great life. And I know some of you may even think this is bragging. And I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm telling you this to show someone can go from this dark place of like, I don't care, why am I even doing this, to someone that's like, I love life, I want to help people out, I want to do something better. I want to show you that that's possible. No matter what situation you're in, bro, I'm going to be honest with you. I felt like nothing. I felt like nothing. I couldn't do anything. And then I decided to change. And people will notice it. When people start noticing, it's crazy. It's like, man, people will notice your change, and they'll start treating you differently. And it's a good thing, too, when you change in the good way, treating you, And, there's still going to be bad people. There's always bad people. There's always going to be people who want to stop you from your change as well. You need to be careful of those people. It's just it's a thing that it's hard, especially when sometimes it's your friends, it's your family members, it may be even your boyfriend or your girlfriend that's stopping you from that change because they don't want you to. And the thing is, though, is that once you finally find that this plays into worth as well. Once you get that worth, that feeling that's like, man, this is where I need to be. People are going to drag you down, but there's also going to be people who want to drag you up as well. And I want to let you know that you can change. Now, some of you may be sitting here and probably thinking, well, I don't know how to start to change. I don't understand. What do you mean? Like, you're probably sitting there thinking, well, I went on a giant spew of how I've changed in my life. I want to tell you that, maybe it lies in what you see. Did you know that this window you've been staring at this entire time? All right, even when I was probably talking about this, to me, I might even look like one of those people you see out there that are having a fun life, happy all the time, skipping around, doing some dances, having fun in the tree life, stuff like that. I may even see like that to you because I shared how I was to you. But I want to let you know that maybe this window you've been looking at the entire time you've been looking through is a glass door with a doorknob on it that you can turn and open it. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, once you're so used to being in a situation, it's hard to get out of. Those first few steps in changing is the hardest steps you can ever take in your life. Seriously, it is the scariest and hardest first steps you can ever take. It is. It was so hard for me to break out of my shell when I took a speech class or when I wanted to change who I was. And it's scary because you're like, is this the right place? Are people gonna treat me bad? And the thing is that it all lies in how you do it. Once you start making these few steps, and I'm telling you, these steps are not easy, all right? The first steps are always the hardest. You know why they're the hardest? Because they're the ones that require the biggest push. Because once you're pushed, guess what happens? You're pushed, you can keep walking forward more and more. The more you walk, the easier it gets. And I know it's weird, but hey, listen, when you're a baby, guess what? You have to learn to walk, all right? And, it takes a while to learn how to walk, but after a while, you'll start walking and walking, and then you could be out there, outside that door. Like, listen, a glass window that you've been looking at the entire time, that you've been thinking, man, I can't get anywhere. I can't even go out there, was just a doorknob the entire time that lets you walk through. And that's completely up to you, by the way. I can't make you change. No one else can make you change. Someone can offer their way to change and advise you to change, kind of like how I'm doing, but it's ultimately up to you. If you want to stay in that dark place forever, you're welcome to, but are you really happy in that dark place? And that's why I think you need to change. Now, here's the thing. People have different reasons why they want to change or what they change for. I want to give you some solutions, all right? Or at least some advice if you're truly going to walk that door. If you're going to open that glass door that looked like a window this entire time, it gets easier down the road. The hardest part is those first few steps, I'm telling you. It's almost like trying to jump for the first time and you've never jumped before in your life. And it's scary. You have to be careful with what you do. If someone's trying to drag you down, they don't want you to change, you need to at least express how you feel and see if they will loosen their grip, or if they're gripping too tight, you need to let go. And that's hard, but changing who you are to be the best that you can be is one of the hardest things to do, but one of the happiest things you can do for your heart. It plays into worth so well, because once you know your worth, you want to go and start changing who you want to be. Like I talked about last time in Worth, you are worth it, and you are definitely worth to open that door and walk throughout into that color, into that happiness, and I believe in you. I mean, heck, I was a broken kid. I had a bad perspective on life. I even called my parents devil infested because I had the wrong view on life as well. Change who you want to be into. Listen, if your heart booms for something, do it. If it booms to be a better person, go for it. That's how your worth is found in changing as well. You are worth changing. I want to go over some key points. One, I want you to say that, yes, this dark box you've probably been living in for like a big portion of your life. I'm blessed to have a mind that is so young and open, but a lot of people aren't like that. And that's why I'd like to say, if you're trapped in that box, maybe it's not even a box, maybe it's just a street. And around the corner, there's some change shining right back there, but you don't know what's around the corner because you're limiting yourself. Limiting yourself blocks you from change. That window could be a limit. I bet you didn't think that window would be a door this entire time because you limited yourself. Don't ever limit yourself. If you limit yourself, you block yourself from something great. And I know this is longer than Worth, but this is a thing that needs to be said when it comes into Worth, and this is that you are worth going further and breaking your limits. It's hard. It's always going to be hard, but it gets a lot easier after you take those first steps. I hope this helped you out in any sort of way. I hope me sharing my story didn't come off as anything like me trying to brag about how I've changed or anything. I wanted to share that as proof that someone who can have this dark perspective can grow into somebody who they want to be, or an even better person than they thought they could be. I want to say thank you again for anyone who has told me anything about this. My confidence with this has been a lot better with this, and I could not be thankful for a community like this and for people to just reach out to me and tell me these things. Also, I would like to say, for any of you who are Christians, change could be Christian-wise as well. Don't forget that. This goes to either Christianity or real-life circumstances. This applies to both perspectives if you've got that. And I see it through both perspectives on it. And I want to say that you guys can change. Anyways, I hope that was a great thing for you. Please tell me what you guys think. I'm always good for feedback. I would love feedback. I've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and Twitch if you all want to check me out on those. The Sir Derpy Creeper on everything. And that was the end of this Wisdom Wednesday. I hope this made a whiz out of you making great decisions, and I hope you're able to steam them up and make them even better. Until then, I'll see you next Wisdom Wednesday. Have a good rest of the week.